We published that YubiKey 2FA review. Dude, the story behind that's so funny because, well, it's not funny. But Yubico reached out in like October 2021 or something like that. And they're like, hey, do you guys want to like review some stuff for us? And we're like, I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, I've wanted to for a while. So they sent us some review units, and it kind of like continually ended up on the back burner, like a lot of the things we do. And before I knew it, we did record that video in summer of last year, but we only published it recently because we recorded like 10 videos all at once, and we're still rolling those out, which is why we have so many videos just scattered through our production right now. They're like, oh, this was recorded in 2022, not 2023. But yeah, they canceled our affiliate. There was supposed to be an affiliate link on that video for like YubiKeys, and
really?
They canceled our affiliate plan. Because it's like a year and a half later, and I'm like, yeah, I don't blame you guys. So we just push out the video anyway, because it's like, it's not worth it. Like, I don't want to like pick a battle over this. Like, we kind of screwed up, and like, it's fine. Like, if people are gonna buy them anyway, it's fine. It doesn't change our review. So I just thought that was a funny story.
That's funny.
Yeah, I never heard back from them either.
Huh.
I reached out and I'm like, hey, we have a review ready to go, and they're like, crickets. So I actually left I don't normally leave like really long responses to YouTube comments, but someone actually asked a really good question, and I felt it was like worthy enough for me to give them like a really solid response. And I wanted to hear your take on it. So someone asked, what is the risk of leaving one is a hardware key in your laptop if, say, your laptop was stolen? Do you remove the YubiKey or security key when you're not using it? I wanted to hear your take, because I feel like that's kind of a misunderstood thing. If people are like, well, if it's in there in my laptop, then doesn't that like keep everything in one basket in a way?
Yeah, I mean, it does in a sense. Like, if your laptop was stolen, they'd also need your password, which is exactly why there's two factors. It's not YubiKey only, typically. The main threat for people is, by and large, like remote attacks, right? Like, you're not being hacked by typically somebody in your immediate vicinity. There aren't like people going around stealing laptops just to hack your digital identity. It's mostly you're under attack from like hackers in foreign countries that you could never catch, and there's so many of them because the internet is worldwide. It's so accessible that you have to protect against the entire world at once. So the benefit to just having one of these at all is that it narrows it down to just the people in your immediate physical vicinity, which is a much smaller group of people to defend against. It really depends on your on what level of risk that you're willing to take, though, I think, as to whether you leave it in your laptop all the time or not. Like, if you're really concerned about that, YubiKey has has keys that have fingerprint scanners built in, for example. So you can use that as an option. You can always just keep it separate and keep it on like a keychain or something and only connect it when you need it, that kind of thing. But for most people, realistically, it's probably fine if you left it in your laptop, because you're still protecting yourself from like 99.9% of all of the people trying to hack into your account, right?
Right. I just edited the comment to add, I forgot they offered biometric keys, and that's a really good point. So
yeah, that is a new thing. It's pretty neat.
Right. I really like that. But in theory, if your device is completely secure, they're not going to be able to get into your operating system. So all they're going to have is a key, and you can't really get into any accounts with just a key unless you're using like a passkey type of situation with Fido.
Yeah,
but that's kind of it.
Which, but I guess, even then, you have to. That's secured with a pin typically. So
right, and there's still a pin there, which is another thing I left in the comment. And the other thing too is like, this is why layering up is important. Let's say you can't get full disk encryption, or let's say someone bypasses your full disk encryption and your password and they have access to your operating system. Then what? You can still have protections in place, even if someone has complete access to your operating system and your YubiKey. This is for like higher threats, but like this is when you have browsers that don't save any data on exit, because then there's no saved credentials in your browsers. And this is when you have to make sure you have a strong master password for your password manager, because then no one can really access anything, even if they have access to your operating system. And even from there, if you want to have a higher threat model, what if someone breaks into your password manager from there? Do you have protections in place to still have like some variance of protection within your password manager? Do you have things like appended passwords at the end of each randomly generated password to offer you like one last layer of protection? So this is kind of what it speaks to me as. It's like, yeah, someone can steal your laptop with your YubiKey, you're probably fine. But if you want to be ultra secure, then yeah, you can keep them separate. But I think I'm more concerned about if someone steals my laptop, I just lost one of my keys, I have to make sure I have a backup. So it's always important to have a backup.
Yeah, you definitely need to buy these in a pair at least. You know, you gotta have 2 of them.
Agreed. 2 or more.
Is this guy a retard?
Another thing that I've seen a couple people ask about, even before this video, just a general confusion, is like whether any identifiable information is stored on these YubiKeys. Or like, can websites use one to like correlate your account between different services, that kind of thing?
Yeah, that was a good question. That was asked in our patron Signal chat. We have a Signal group chat for patrons. Join our Patreon if you want to join that.
And the answer is no. The FIDO2 and the previous U2F protocols that these websites use for encryption were designed with privacy in mind. So no like identifiable information gets stored on the YubiKey. If you find one on the street, you're not going to be able to plug it in and find out what accounts are stored on that, what accounts can that key be used on. And then similarly, like websites can't identify the key that you're using. So like 2 websites couldn't talk to each other and find out if somebody used the same key on both accounts to kind of correlate that information. So
So is what you're saying, like each website, so let's say Proton Mail has their like half-baked U2F support, and then Google has good U2F support. Proton Mail would get its own unique identifier for the key, and Google would get its own unique identifier for the key, and so they wouldn't be able to directly correlate those 2 things.
absolutely, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's really cool, because actually, I don't think we got a comment about that, which surprises me, because we didn't actually acknowledge that point in our YubiKey video. And is that universal for all of these security keys, or is that just a YubiKey?
Yeah, that's part of the FIDO2 or WebAuthn standard.
Very cool.
That they're privacy protecting. I do actually think that YubiKey has their own proprietary authentication protocol, like YubiOTP or something, that might not be as privacy protecting. I have only seen one website ever use that, and I think I think it might have been LastPass.
Oh my
honestly.
god, no!
That used it. If I'm remembering correctly, I could be wrong, but that's my memory right now. It's very rare, so I don't think you'll have to. Most people won't have to worry about that, but.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, though.
I haven't watched your video about it yet, so I'll have to check it out.
It's pretty bare bones. It's one of our that summer lineup. I think we went a little too far because we recorded those 10 videos over summer, and I think we went a little too far into like the simplistic content format, because we were trying to be like, okay, well, can we make like all our videos just super short and condensed in like 6 to 7 minutes, so that way people are like more likely to like maybe like get more noobs on board. But they're not performing that well. In fact, I think that like people seem to prefer the longer, more nuanced stuff, because that's what makes us different from a lot of other channels, I think.
You serious?
And so it's cool to have like our longer form content, and actually it performs better anyway. So I think that's what we should continue sticking with, because people like the more complicated, nuanced, like, oh, this is kind of nice here, but not so nice here, 10+ minute content, like our Proton review. You know, we could have done a 6-minute variant of that Proton review. I don't think it would have performed that well. But the fact that we did that super long Proton review and people really enjoyed it overall. Second, Proton's themes look great, but as someone who switches between light and dark theme automatically, it's silly for Proton to not have a system theme option, especially when their apps have this, opening the discussion on client consistency, which we'll cover later in the video. My final major complaint is how Proton Mail handles multiple accounts on the web. To switch between accounts, you leave the main UI to enter the account switcher, then select a different account, which is wildly inconvenient. All accounts should just be listed in one place, just copy the mobile apps. Actually, speaking of, it's interesting, because I just published a blog post for that, and I don't know, it's weird. I don't think it's overly pessimistic nor optimistic. I think to me it felt like a review, but maybe it's like fanboys are gonna fanboy, because I still got a lot of people going, well, do you like Proton or not? And it's like, I do, I use them, but this is a review. And then, yeah. Like, it's a review. Like, you mentioned this kind of jokingly, but I don't know if it's real. Like, are people just so used to, like, sponsored reviews that, like, when people actually criticize things in reviews, they think that it's, like, strongly against the service? And it's like, no, like, it's not meant to be an overwhelmingly positive take on something. It's meant to be critical and tell people exactly what to expect before they buy something.
It's a weird phenomenon to me. It just seems like a lot of people don't understand that you can criticize something that you like.
Right. We're all in on Proton stuff. Like,
right.
For Techlore, like if you email contact@techlore.tech from a Proton email, it will have the Proton little blue icon, because we're using Proton for the Techlore email. And we can still make a review and be like, no, there's problems here. Because like here's like the target audience for a review. It's someone who's like, okay, I have a business, or I need to get a new email address for myself in my personal life. Either or, doesn't matter. I'm gonna look at some Tutanota reviews. I want to see what this suite is about. I want to look at some Proton reviews and see what this suite is about. I want to look at some Google Workspace reviews and see what their suite is about. And I'm going to compare the pros and cons between them based on these reviews that I found, because I'm about to give them money, my own hard-earned money, and I want to have like actual objective information about these services.
I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you.
It's doing a disservice to not be honest, I feel. But
absolutely, yeah.